All right, put my gloves on, my fighting gloves. I'm ready to get into this. Got a little bit of a disagreement with Nerdrotic and the Friday Night Tights crew. First off, welcome everyone. I'm trying to film a couple videos, and I thought this would be more fun instead of just talking specifically about Batman news and the announcements about Batman. Filming in 2025. Hopefully, we'll see it earlier than 2027. But there's a little bit of discourse that I was, I've listened a little bit to Friday Night Tights. Sometimes, the guys can be a little negative on certain things, but then certain things deserve to be negative about. I think they're really good people. I honestly, I don't know what political side people are when they come to watch here. I'm not going to try to make things too political here. Here is really about enjoying things. But I think there should be the freedom to talk about things, and there are issues that are in media. And I don't think anyone knows how to really balance that very well. You either go really too far left or go really too far to the right, but really with Hollywood you go really too far left. But that said, I think the people here, I listen to them and I listen to Grace Randolph. I listen to a lot of different people from every end of the political aisle. So I like Friday Night Tights. I think they're really good people. This is almost more just to have a fun way to have a discussion, because there's something I actually disagree with them on, and I'm going to be a little hard on them in this video. But I think some of it's deserved, and I think it just have a good conversation. I think anybody on here would do anything to help their friends, and I actually really, really respect that. There's a lot of people on YouTube, whenever someone goes after somebody, they all cancel that person and act like they were never their friend. And from everything I've seen, that if you're a true person with good character and you treat them with kindness, they will always treat you with kindness, and they will not purposely throw you under the bus. That's just what I've seen. So I actually have a lot of respect for these guys, but I do disagree with them on something, and I think it would just be fun, and maybe it's a little clickbait to put on a thumbnail, but they're talking about Batman, and they're going to talk about the Warner Brothers and what Warner Brothers does. We're not going to watch clearly we're not watching a whole thing, but I just want to play something, and I'm going to have a little bit of a disagreement with these guys, and I'm totally open to talking to any of them if they ever want to. But yeah, so without further ado, this is talking about Batman and their thoughts on Batman and Warner Brothers and the DC universe, and I think they get some things wrong and probably some things right, but we'll talk about it.
To make that, that's what the whole problem the last 10 years was, them doing that, them planning something, it either not working or working, them then pivoting to something because that didn't work, so now we have to restructure everything, and then the stuff that's already in production gets all fucked up because they're trying to readjust. That's their problem.
It's such a fly in the ointment. That's what, I think that they were obliged to make it. It was such all the fandom, Benny, was like, why the fuck, what? I mean, like, Colin Farrell was good in it, but like, what are you talking about?
Okay, so before they get into the Penguin conversation, Quarter Black does make a good point, but I want to separate something. There's what was done in the past, okay? They clearly didn't necessarily have a plan. They rushed things because they were trying to get money for bonuses. That's one of the reasons Justice League came out unfinished, or they switched directors and didn't stick to Zack Snyder's vision, was because they wanted their bonuses. And so he is right. They were switching things out, going back and forth, moving things around, not really sticking to something. The movies we were about to get for DC were about to really be terrible. People may be upset with what Marvel has been giving us. The things that DC were about to give us was going to be hot garbage. It was not going to be very good. But there's a difference between the way that it was being run then versus James Gunn. Now, James Gunn does have a little bit of egg on his face when it comes to things like The Flash, saying it's this fantastic movie. I didn't think it was a bad movie. There's a lot of things you could do to make that movie better, but I didn't think it was a bad movie. Maybe we could have that conversation one day, because I would love to do a there's something I want to do with talking about like movies and scripts and things. If you just change certain things, you can still keep your same plot, still keep all your stuff, but it just makes it a better film. And I would love to do that with Flash one day. But besides saying that was like the best DC film he's ever seen, which I don't think he was being honest about, I do think there's a clear difference between the way he does content and the way that they do content, or way they did content in the past. So I don't think it's fair to latch that on to James. But anyway, they're about to get into the Batman stuff. And so here is Nerdrotic talking about Penguin.
Talking about this is going to be whatever. And then it's just like the best show of the year. And you're like, oh, fuck, man, that's a problem. Yeah, same thing with
and
same thing
3
happened.
weeks after it's over, they say, "Oh, by the way, the Batman 2 is basically never coming out."
Yeah, exactly. The classic Warner Brothers.
Ryan, remember Wonder Woman? Like everything was fucking failing. Then Wonder Woman almost hits $1 billion, and they're like, "Shit, we can't," because they wanted to get rid of it back then, and they couldn't.
Ryan's point, like that should have been all that momentum coming out of Penguin.
Not everybody cares about quality.
Oh, crap. Sorry, ads.
That's you.
Ads. Terrible.
Every month they fill
that out.
And you come out and go, yeah, by the way, Batman, it's delayed for like the next 22 years.
I know, dude.
Sorry.
Into the void with that movie.
I mean,
why is it delayed?
We need a second.
Why? Can somebody explain?
Apparently
no
they're saying that there's no finished script, which again, what have you been working on?
So the real reason.
Okay. You know what? Let him finish.
Is there's going to be 2 Batmans. James Gunn wants his Batman, and now they have this other Batman.
Because Robert Pattinson's Batman is not directly tied to James Gunn's Superman
totally separate
universe.
things.
So they're separate, completely separate. Which again, this has been a problem for DC for a while. They have multiple Jokers. They have multiple Flash. They have multiple.
Okay. Now let's lay this out, guys. Let's lay this out. And here's my biggest grievance with this. Because these guys get to make a living doing this. Which I think is awesome. I don't think they're being completely fair and honest. Now, partly, yes, the script. The script has not been officially done. Supposedly, Matt Reeves writes differently than a lot of people. And so instead of turning in first draft, second draft, he meticulously combs over his scripts over and over and over again. And basically, he puts out just like a perfect script as like his final thing to give to the studio. And they do some fixes here and there afterwards, but like he basically has a perfect script when he finally turns it in, which is part of the reason why he does take a while, and that is partly true. Okay? Now, what he's going to do, though, is he's going to put a lot of blame on James Gunn, saying James Gunn wants to get rid of his Batman. And then they bring up the fact that basically Warner Brothers has had a problem because, Warner Brothers has all these different Flashes and all these different characters. And maybe there is some truth to that. But I think people don't watch things that aren't good. That's the thing. And people don't watch things when people don't hold to their promises. And so people are expecting good things from the Superman movie and are hoping it's going to be really, really good. And if Superman does really, really great, we're going to see more movies from that universe. If Batman and the Batman movies do great, you're going to see more from there. Penguin, Colin Farrell just won a Golden Globe. You're going to see more from that world. And I think both of those things can exist. And I think the times where those things have failed have nothing really to do with the fact that there's too many of the same thing. I think it has more to do with the content actually being good versus not good. And I do think that James Gunn is correct about not greenlighting films until the scripts are completely finished and until they're a script that they can be happy with. And I'm sure there's some times where they're going to make changes to that. But there's more to the story, and they don't talk about it. They don't talk about the fact that Matt Reeves has been going through a personal thing. He's going to mention in a video I'm going to show in just a second. He was going through a personal issue. And, you know, they haven't released that on the internet. I don't think it's any of our business, but it is a reality. And they didn't know this at the time, but it has been mentioned before, actually, that they're going to film this year. They're planning on filming it this year. So they already have their cinematographer ready to shoot it. Like, they plan on making this, at least shooting it pretty soon. The reasons it's going to come out later, I don't know, but they do plan on shooting this movie in 2025. So some of the things they're saying isn't totally true. We'll have to see when time comes, but I do feel like for these guys who make money, you know, talking about things on the internet, especially nerd things, I think they should be able to give a fuller context to this stuff. That's kind of where I'm going to be a little hard on them. I think there's no reason why Nerdrotic shouldn't know that. You may disagree with it, but it's been widely talked about. So I just don't understand why he's not bringing that part up. Because I guess it doesn't fit with the narrative of James Gunn trying to get rid of it. But I've talked about this before. I don't think there's much evidence to show that James Gunn is trying to cripple this guy and totally get rid of his stuff. And as far as a person goes, I think James Gunn does lie. And that'd be my critique of James Gunn. I do think he lies. But I don't think he personally tries to go after people and totally ruin their lives. And I think what's happened to him in his past, for actors and everybody to stand by him the way they do, I just don't think that's the type of person he is. But also, James Gunn and him are working on that dynamic duo movie together. So I do believe they have a good relationship, and I do believe that both of these universes can coexist and do well as long as both are great. So I don't think there's a need to bring them together. I don't think they're going to be brought together, and I also don't think that he's going to try to... I don't think he's trying to cripple Matt Reeves. I think Matt Reeves has a legitimate situation going on that has caused things to back up, and I think they're backing up the movie because of those things that we don't know about. I have a feeling it must be medical or something. I don't know, but if they're going to film in 2025, there must be some issue in 2026 that they're concerned with, or during that time with him, that is going to hold him off from being able to completely finish the film he wants to make. Because I'm sure he's a director who's very involved. But there's reasons, and I think the weakest conclusion you can come with is that at the moment is that James Gunn is trying to destroy his movie because of all these different reasons.
Everything, it seems like. So go ahead, though, Gary. You were talking about
half the motherfuckers that go in the theater think that like Batman's a Marvel character or something.
Yeah.
I agree.
And you know what? I don't totally disagree with that, but I think that almost proves the point that it doesn't matter. Because there are a lot of people that don't know the difference between these things. I saw this country couple. They were cute. People were hard on them, but they were cute. They went to see Nosferatu. I saw on a TikTok, and the lady, they didn't like it. I love Nosferatu. They didn't like the movie, and it wasn't for them. And you could tell they don't know very much. Like if you're gonna have like a really critical conversation about film, they're not the couple you're gonna want to talk to about that. But it wasn't good for them. It wasn't fun for them. They didn't get nothing out of it. The best thing you can try to do is just make the best film you can make. And the people that don't understand what's Marvel, what's not Marvel, what's DC, not DC, you're not going to confuse them anymore. They're already confused. They want to just go see a fun popcorn flick. They don't care. They don't care. And trying to do everything you can not to confuse them, I don't know if it's going to really matter. Those people will always be confused because They have their lives. They're not obsessed with movies like we are. And so as long as your movie's good, they also don't care. They also don't care. Because they're not watching. Those type of people aren't keeping up with the plot. They're not. They're not keeping up with all the shows, all the movies. They're not. They're going to go see one good movie after one good movie after one good movie. And it's not going to confuse them that much. Because they were already confused to begin with. Because fairly, their lives, everyone has their lives. Everyone has the things they're more interested in. They're not obsessed with this as we are. It almost contradicts itself. I don't think it matters.
I don't think there'd be a problem with it. I think it'd be better to put him on TV and then let him exist in his own universe on TV. Yep. But like if you released him within a couple of...
I also agree. I think a Batman live action TV series would be fantastic. Don't disagree with that.
Of years of each other. As a fan, I wouldn't give a fuck, and I know most people would not give a fuck. But for some reason, there must be something in the rights, or some studio believes, or James Gunn ego will not allow another Batman to be more successful than his Batman. Because if it is, if it comes out and it's more successful than his Batman, the man in charge of the DCU, then there's a problem. There's a big problem, and it's James Gunn's ego.
Okay. So again, and maybe I rushed too early to talk about the ego thing, but this has nothing to do with James Gunn's ego, guys. It literally has nothing. I'm gonna sound like such a James Gunn fan, and I am a fan of James Gunn. I also like the Zack Snyder movies too. I'll be honest. I don't think I would have liked the future Zack Snyder movies that he was gonna make. I do not like the idea that Lois Lane would cheat on Clark Kent and have a baby with Batman. I don't like that idea. I don't think that's a good idea. So I'm not in the Zack Snyder cult, but I do like the other movies. I also like James Gunn, but I am fair about him. I do think he lies. But to say that this is his ego, when all this evidence has been shared. Now, if it's true or not, who knows? But there's evidence that's been shared that Matt Reeves is going through a difficult time, and also it's always been known that he takes a while on his scripts, and he's admitted to that. So it's almost you're making a fantasy in your mind about this thing about James Gunn being this greedy person who just doesn't want this universe to succeed, which I think the opposite is happening. Honestly, with whatever's going on with Matt Reeves, I think they could easily cancel this film. Now, the reality is, though, it was maybe not as easy to cancel it, but there's realities where they could if they needed to. If they wanted to wrap this up, now would be the time to wrap it up. It would be. You had a limited series on Penguin, everyone liked, you had awards, accolades, all those things. If you were going to end it, now actually would be the time to end it, and people would be pissed, people would be mad, but you could end it now if you wanted to. But they don't want to do that. They want this to succeed, and they want their other films to succeed, and they're going to be so different. There's going to be the more realistic Batman that's not going to have all the crazy, fantasy elements to it. And then you're going to have the Batman with all the cool fantasy elements to it. And both can work. And James Gunn's not trying to destroy this. And here's another thing. They're saying that he can't have another film succeed more than his film. They're both his films. They're both his films. He is the CEO. He gets to have final say on a lot of things that come to these movies. Yes, Matt Reeves is the director, but it's just as much of his films. Like, if Penguin failed, if these things fail, it will make James Gunn look bad. It will make him look bad. It will make the DC studios look bad. So clearly he doesn't want it to fail. Now, I don't know if James Gunn's going to turn around and be the new director for Batman Brave and the Bold. But to say that it's his greed and saying that he doesn't want this movie to outdo him because he just can't handle it, I think, my opinion, you're putting a fantasy over something when there's clear evidence to say otherwise, which is he's working with Matt Reeves on other projects. He is always been known as someone who works really well with a lot of different people. I'm sure he expects a lot from different people, but he's always been someone who's worked well with people. People have gone out of the limb to defend him. I'm sure he's a little self-centered. I'm sure he's a little maybe too obsessed with himself. But I also don't think he purposely tries to ruin people's lives. I've never been shown anything to suggest that. I've never seen that. Also, you know, being a CEO has to be a very cutthroat thing to be a part of, but he just doesn't seem like that guy, and there's no evidence to suggest that. Now, even more to debunk this idea that James Gunn is trying to ruin him and do all this stuff, there is, I'm going to go to it, there is an interview, I got this from DC Updates, but there's a bunch of different ones, I just pulled it from there. It's from Deadline. I guess Deadline was the one that filmed it, where they asked Matt Reeves about filming Batman and about the different things going on, and he answers it pretty honestly. So let's hear what he has to say.
Give us some insight into working with the wonderful Colin Farrell.
I mean, he's a genius. He's just absolutely brilliant, and our entire cast is incredible. But he's also just such a wonderful person. There a lot of stuff going on sort of in my life in the last year or so, and he has been such a good friend, such a beautiful man. And so I have to say that I've loved it on so many levels.
That's wonderful to hear. Did you see that he ran the marathon recently and helped his friend run the marathon? I'm like, he's a hero.
Yeah, he is really.
Not to pause this, but just to add, he just clarified he's had a lot of stuff going on with him this past year. Personal issues going on with him that's affected probably him finishing the script and other things. Plus you have the writer's strike or whatever. But he just said that. Okay.
He's just a really caring, beautiful person. I love him. Yeah.
So I have to ask, and you may refuse to tell me anything whatsoever, but what can you say about the Batman coming up?
I can tell you that we're going to be shooting this year, and that we're excited about it. I can't really tell you anything about it, except that we're really excited about it.
What do you feel like the fans are going to like the most? And you can be as oblique as possible.
You mean in the Batman Part 2? That we're continuing the story, and that, I don't know. I can't tell you that right now. I'm not going to give you that away. But I appreciate it. I'm really excited to be making it and to get our cast back together and to get new people involved, and we're really excited about it. And I'm really excited about, I think what I'm excited about is I feel like we're doing something that absolutely continues where the story came from, but is something that I hope people are going to be really surprised by.
I love to hear that, and I am sorry for putting you on the spot. And before I let you go, do you have a favorite awards show memory?
A favorite this moment right now? I mean, not really. I haven't. Honestly, what's so weird is the last time I was here.
Okay, I think we're done listening to this, but do you get, like, he's making his movie, he's filming his movie this year, it's just not coming out till 2027, which I think is just a placeholder. I think if he finishes his movie, they do everything they want to do with it, I do think they may pull it back to a 2026 time frame. But clearly, like they said, there was things that's been going on with him this year. And I think those things that have been going on with him are going to continue to go on with him. And so I think they could have came out, and if it's a health reason, whatever, they could have came out and been like, because of these things and because he's the head person of this universe, we're deciding to close this out of respect towards him, even though clearly he wants to make his film. They could have easily done that and offered him money and then just closed it, if what y'all are saying is really what he wanted, what James Gunn wanted. And I think there's evidence to prove that that is not the case. So, anyway, that's all I really have to say. I think there's a ton of evidence to show that what you guys are saying is not correct as far as James Gunn's ego. Everything else we'll have to see. I don't necessarily agree with the whole, like, people don't, if people are already confused, they're going to be confused no matter what you do. So it's like, just make good movies. And I think that's the goal of what DC is trying to do. Hopefully, is to just make good content, good movies. Will they fail? We'll have to see. But so far, I think they're doing an okay job. So, anyway, much love to the Friday Nights team. You know, it's just something I disagreed with. And it also confuses me because you guys get to make a living doing this. So, to me, to not share the full amount of information that I know most of you guys doom scroll on X anyway. Like, you guys should know. Benny Johnson, he talks about politics. I don't expect him to know. But you guys, I figured would know this. So, anyway, this is my fun little disagreement with them. But anyway, guys, give Nerdrotic and them a follow if you want. They're there. I would like the video to be nice. So, anyway, guys, let me know down in the comments. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with me? Or do you agree with me and disagree with them? What are your thoughts about that? Apologies for the language as well. You know, I don't try to put that language in my content. So if you're someone who's younger or someone who doesn't like that type of language, I apologize. But I just want them to speak freely, and I was trying to have that discussion. So anyway, guys, you know, like I said, put in the comments down below what you think. And wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a good one. Peace.